T.J. Hooker returns next week at this time. Now a special presentation.
Please support the Word Balloon podcast by going to patreon.com/wordballoon. Become a part of the League of Word Balloon listeners. That's patreon.com/wordballoon.
Kingdom Come is 4 separate issues, 48 pages apiece. It was an all-immersive kind of lifestyle for me.
It blew people away. I mean, this was the most sought-after book there was.
This was something very new, very different.
No one had seen anything like that at that scale before.
It was amazing.
I never thought from anything that people would still be talking about this book 25 years later.
There were voices and lightnings and thunderings. This was my dream.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, one of my oldest friends in comics. Pretty much like about a year or so after I started Word Balloon is when I first met Jeremy Haun, and we've been friends for 19 years. It's good to see you, buddy. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you.
And beyond talking about the comics, we got to talk about your new initiative of a new publishing deal that this new comic is about. So certainly we're going to talk about Murder Podcast.
Yeah.
But as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, that's the logo for Ignition Comics, which is a new comic publishing effort by Jeremy. Before we get into Murder Podcast, tell me about Ignition. How did this start?
One of the things we do in comics, whether you're a creative, a publisher, a retailer, fan, all of us along the way, we talk a lot about the things that are wrong with comics. That's just a reality. We all love this medium intensely. Sometimes, through the good times, the bad times, and everything in between, we truly love this industry. And over the years, as I was working just as a creative in comics, I kept having these conversations about things that we needed to do to be better. And I think that when you're in your 20s, whether it's a small town or an industry you're working in, you're always talking about this thing where you're like, somebody needs to do this. Somebody needs to do this.
Sure.
Then you find yourself in your 40s, well into getting into my 50s now, and you realize that somebody is you. If you want to affect change, you have to do something. And that laundry list of things, the things that needed to be better, that needed to work better, I sat down with a group of friends and really started, kind of putting that list together. And for years and years, I had worked with the producer Eric Gitter, who is now one of our partners he's our CEO and a partner in Ignition. And we talked a lot about why certain elements of comics didn't work more like film studios, and I think there's been a lot of conversation. There's always conversation about, comics shouldn't be like certain aspects of the studio system or something like that. But there are things that we could really learn and take into account, as far as, taking care of creatives in really good, solid ways, guaranteeing projects, basically just putting your money where your mouth is. So we worked on it for, we had been possibly building on this for years. And then a little over a year ago, we sat down and really started talking about what we wanted and needed to do to make this happen. And we came together with Philip Sadlick as publisher, Jamie S. Rich as editor-in-chief. I'm the creative director. And then, like I said, Eric Gitter is on the film side of things, and we're just all completely working in tandem. Just trying to, you know what? Oh, we're just trying to make cool stuff.
Excellent, man. No, that's great. I know you had a big presentation. Was it last fall at New York?
Yeah, so we were at New York, and it was kind of our soft coming out. We were talking to a lot of creatives, really kind of sharing the message of what we were building. And then we threw a hell of a party, because that's always fun to do in New York. So we did that, and then this this spring at Comics Pro, at the big Comics Pro annual meeting, we went, and for anybody that knows Philip Sablik, our publisher, the man can really, using his wonderful combination of industry knowledge, just a wealth of facts and some folksy charm, really came in, and he did another one of his kind of famous speeches, and really talked about the industry on the whole, but then what we were wanting to bring to it. We also did a special thing there where Ignition's been a little close to the vest. We're wanting to not always talk about what we're going to do, what we need to do. We're going to show you what we're wanting to do. And one of the ways that we did that at Comics Pro was we brought out a series of our first rung creators and let them get up on the stage and talk about why Ignition matters, and like why it matters to them, the difference it's made in their lives. We had Colin Bunn up, we had Leah Williams, Stephanie Williams, jokingly call them the Williams sisters. Actually related. They're both delightful, though. And we had Jim McCann up there, and we rounded out with Cy Spurrier, and it was just a great group of people, and it was exciting to give another hint about what's coming. You see part of the lineup, the tip of the spear, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's excellent. And of course, you were just at C2E2.
We were at C2E2.
And you and Philip and everything. I don't know if there were other creators there as well from Ignition.
There were several creators that were there. A lot of people that were building too. A lot of people we can't even tell you that are creators necessarily that are working with us yet. But there was there was a cacophony of Ignition creators at C2E2, but that's all very hush hush. Don't pry anything out of me, John.
All right, fair enough. I understand.
But I was warned. I was warned, and like no scotch, which I'm not having any. And
no, never.
And they're like, don't spill anything to John. So apparently they know whenever you hang out with old friends, you get to chatting, and it's just
that's
us
true.
On here, so we're good.
That's true. Well, there you go. Well, that's all right. No, dude, it was so great to see Philip, because it had been forever since I've seen him, and of course, Philip and I go back to his Boom days, and it's great to hear Jamie is involved, and every name that you mentioned. Cullen's a good friend as well, and really, I'm psyched for what you guys are doing, and starting with. Again, a Kickstarter that is right now going on, just under 3 weeks left in the campaign, but we'll show you the cover. And you had me at a hello with this title, Murder Podcast, The Cold Open.
Yep, kind of gets you right. Like you, I'm betting you read that title and you know what the book is probably at least a little bit about, right? Like that's
so.
Yeah.
I've heard. Here, let me be grandpa for a second. I've heard about these podcasts. I'm not real. Is that like a radio show? What is that?
It's a new thing, John. Let me tell you all about it.
It's my 20th anniversary this year, man.
You're a maniac.
May 10th, buddy. May 10th is my anniversary.
And we're just strapping young lads. We're just getting going. I don't know.
Well, no, but honestly, Jared, before you get into Murder Podcasts, and truly, I have nothing but respect for everybody that we've mentioned. Cullen, Jamie, Philip, the Williamses, all of these people, Cy. These are great creators. And as you said, I was just talking to my friend Robert Burnett earlier this week, and it's like, you only get so many opportunities from the industry before you got to start making shit yourself. And I know that from a podcasting and broadcasting standpoint, and Rob knows it too from a movie and audio drama standpoint. He just made True Noir, starring Michael Rosenbaum from Lex Luthor from Smallville. Fantastic detective thing he made with Max Collins. And now here you guys are with Ignition and Murder Podcast. So seriously, I'm very excited for what you guys are doing.
I think that there is. Back up for a second. I have been so fortunate in my career. I am incredibly grateful that basically for 25 years, I've gotten to work for every company that I could want to work for. I've gotten to work on so many of the icons of my youth. The idea that I have drawn not only Batman and Batwoman and John Constantine and Captain America and Iron Man, but also that I've had the opportunity to draw, I drew The Darkness for well over a year. I got to work with McFarlane on Spawn, which was, one of the most mind-melting experiences of my career.
Claremont on Excalibur, you guys did the X book,
Yes, like these massive things. I've been so fortunate with it because I come from the Midwest, small town Joplin, Missouri, and I've had the opportunity to make amazing stories working with the characters, the icons of my youth, but also with the creative icons of my youth. You talk about Claremont and McFarlane, getting to work with Silvestri, getting all of these things have been fantastic. And so I'm honored to do it. And I'm absolutely honored to have had the opportunity to work for so many years with Image. Image Comics, Jim Valentino helped me get my start. Eric Stevenson over there has always been a wonderful champion of mine. Matt Hawkins and Silvestri over at Top Cow. I've had so many champions from Image Comics over the years and had the opportunity to tell so many great stories. And it really came time for me to do my thing where I could help give back a little bit of that opportunity. There's always this weird competition thing. There's companies out there that sometimes they get aggressive. They want to go to war kind of thing with one another. If you're saying that we're going to go to war, you're stupid in this industry. The reality of it is that comics is not pie. There's not only so much to go around. You need to make things that you love and that you're passionate about. I look at so many amazing companies out there that are doing brilliant things. The revival of classic lines like EC Comics right now that we're getting amazing news stories from companies like Boom and Mad Cave. There is a true willingness to bring out the magic in creatives, and we just wanted to be a part of that. We wanted to help with that. So yeah, I guess I just want to share my excitement for where I've come from in comics and the opportunity to help build and build a part of what's next is an absolute honor to me.
That's great, man. Fantastic. I go back to us on the boat that we rented to stay on San Diego instead of a hotel room. And I remember hearing creator-owned ideas of yours even back then, in between shots. So
I still remember. My gosh,
that was a great San Diego, man. Seriously, that is probably my favorite San Diego of all the ones I went to.
For listeners, even this is over 10 years ago at this point.
Like 15 years ago, I think.
Yeah, 15 years ago, easily.
Yeah.
Hotels were getting so expensive and hard to get like they are now, right? I mean, we're just like the lottery just opened for rooms. But they're so hard to get and they are so expensive. And this is before Airbnb or any of that stuff. And on some weird whim, I was looking up alternative places to stay. And I found out that you could rent a yacht. It wasn't a huge one, but it was
Big
really
enough.
freaking nice. It was amazing.
It would have been like 4 of us comfortably
right
sleeping in the yacht and everything.
Right. So for much, much less than what you would spend getting, a room at the Hilton or Hyatt or whatever it is. Any of the Bayfront hotels, definitely. And so I figured this out and I'm like, well, shit, I'm going to do this. Like that's, and you and I were talking, you were going to be out there and I was, and you're like, hey, do you have a place to stay? And I was like, well, actually I do. And I was like, do you want in on this? And so we got this amazing spot. And yeah, it was hilarious because it was this great spot. It was fancier than anything. And for cheap as hell. And I just remember, staying up late one night. Yes, we were both a wee bit in our cups. And we started talking about story ideas. And I mean, what's hilarious about it is I truly believe that some of the stories that I have now published were ones that I initially was talking about there. And you were always such a champion. Even though you're somebody that appreciates horror, it's not like your jam like it is mine.
No, but you're right. I absolutely, man. And I appreciate good story ideas. Keep going.
Well, that's the thing. Like you were there and you're just like, yes, that's a good one. Oh yeah, that's a good. And like, it was a connective thing in possibly one of the weirdest, coolest places that you could ever have anything like that. So yes, there's my, if we're getting shipped or you get on shipped on a boat, but yeah, is it Hauntress? Is that what we would be like? Our celebrity couple name, is it Hauntress?
I don't know.
Yeah,
no, I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go.
No disrespect to your fine wife, Lori, but sure. But no, dude. Also, there you go. Oh, I see what you're doing. I didn't even know you're Haun and Suntress. I'm with you now.
Yeah,
I'll take that. And of course, the Haun. Yes, Jeremy puts the Haun in Haunted in all of his stories. There's a pull quote for you, son. And truly, it's been a pleasure. Honestly, I've said this to Seeley. I've said this to Mike Norton. All you guys that, I felt like you guys were, even though, you had already started to break through, I just kind of felt this kinship as I was starting my podcast with all of you guys because I saw your careers evolve. And it's been a pleasure watching this. And again, with right now, what we're going to talk about, Murder Podcast, again, I think if you're watching as opposed to listening, the image of the cover speaks for itself. But also, if you're listening as well, I know Jeremy's a massive podcast listener, and of course, this is. I'll let you give the elevator pitch, Jer. Tell us about Murder Podcast, the cold open.
Yes, I guess setting it up. All of us, so many of us are massive podcast fans, listening to various things, and so many people in my life are not only massive podcast listeners, but huge fans of true crime podcasts specifically. And there are more than a couple of them out there right now. and you think about everything, it's less true crime, but like one of the things I always think about is like the year that Serial dropped, right? Like that. And like that first season was completely transformative for
100%
podcasts.
100%.
Everybody was talking about Adnan Syed and what was going on with that case, and it was this thing where like you realize what synergy and connection podcasts can actually have. You've done it for the comics community, with the conversations that you've had over the years with Bendis and everybody. You look at like deep investigative podcasts, you look at the really, really gross ones. There's a lot of stuff out there in the true crime field. And so many people that I know are like voracious true crime podcast listeners. And I think about like my friend group and how many people I know that listen to podcasts within that. And I got to thinking about it, and one night, we were all hanging out, and sort of true crime podcasts came up, and I went inside. Like, I just had this weird thing. I was like, I kind of want to tell a story about these people, and then like a lot of while podcasts, and especially true crime podcasts specifically, all the genders listen to podcasts. Everybody does, but um, but so many women that I know are just
Yep.
like rabid true crime podcast listeners.
Totally.
There's a lot of theories as to why. The idea that like so much of there's so much unknown, right? Like there's so many terrible things that can happen, and if you kind of can process through why this happens and what happens, you can sort of be ready for it. You can control it. It's a thought thing, and no, and I get it, but I think I wanted to tell a story that was about and for those rabid true crime podcast listeners.
Certainly.
And then, because I'm a weirdo, I wanted to make it a horror story, because that's what I like to do. I was everything is like cute cuddly love story. That's a horror movie too, or whatever it is. It's always kind of run through that for me. But yeah, so basically the elevator pitch for Murder Podcast is you are sitting in your office listening to your favorite true crime podcast. It ends, and a new one pops up, one that maybe you've heard about before, but that's weird. I wasn't signed up for this, and it's just suddenly in your feed, and you hit play, and it starts going, and then you're gone. You are not in yourself anymore. And when you come to, you're covered in gore and blood and violence, and you've murdered everybody around you. And so this keeps happening. For some reason, there is a podcast out there that keeps uninvitedly appearing in people's feeds and making them do terrible, terrible things. And I wanted to tell a little fun story about it. It's a feel-good murder podcast comic.
Oh, if only Rod Serling had the ability to time travel while he was still alive, because this would have made a fantastic night gallery.
I think whether it's
Black Mirror,
I mean, I think about like Night Gallery and Twilight Zone stuff. I think that Serling did something, and then you're right. Like Black Mirror does it now, where like we look at the world around us and the human nature, and then we examine it through a lens of horror. And the thing about horror, I mean, really is that it is that Black Mirror held back at humanity. It is an examination of humanity and why we do what we do. Look, I mean, the easiest example of it is, Kirkman famously had that huge double splash page where he said, "We are the Walking Dead," right? Like the monsters aren't usually the monsters. The monsters are the people. And, in times of chaos and strife, where we're not unified, which is more often than not, the toughest times, really, really interesting horror comes out of that.
Agreed.
And my stuff too.
Now, is the cold open? Is that the subtitle for this arc, or is tell me Beyond Murder Podcast? So kind of explain the title and everything a bit.
So the cold open is actually more of an initiative from Ignition Press. Like one of the things that we really wanted to do, and I think one of the maybe a lot of the listeners have the question, if you're a new company that is funded and can do things the right way, why are you doing a Kickstarter? That's a valid question. Um, and for us, we wanted, like, when you're a new company, there is an uphill battle that you face where there is so much content out there. There's a ton of stuff. We wanted to figure out ways to show you who we are rather than just saying, like, hey, your first experience with this book is at the comic shop. Take a risk on us. I mean, and that's huge. Like, I've written about it before, but like, comics are a medium of risk. It is massive risk across the board. The idea that it is a risk for a creator to take a year, 6 months to a year of their life and make a thing. That's risk. It's risk that a publisher is going to bet on that thing and put time and money and effort and resources behind it. It is absolutely a risk that a shop is going to say, I think I can sell 10 copies of this, 20 copies of this, 100 copies of this. I mean, folks, for those of you that don't know, their shops are paying for these up front, hoping that they make their money back. Like, that is a huge risk.
Absolutely.
And these wonderful saintly pains in the ass are doing it time and time and time again. I say that with all due love and respect, my friends. But like, no, but like, like that's a massive risk for retailers. And then even with fans, like, you're sitting there and like, these things are $5 now, and that's just how it is. That's just
Yes.
how it is. Like,
Yes.
that's, and I, get super inside baseball here, but like, I have seen the numbers of how much this stuff costs to get into your hands. I would love, I remember when comics were less than $1. But I definitely was buying a lot of comics when they were $1.
Me too.
I would love to take, like, do you remember when you had a 20 spot and you came back with a stack of books? Like, how
Vividly.
awesome that was.
Vividly. I remember not yelling, but talking to Dan Buckley, the publisher of Marvel, and going, do they really need to be $2.99? Is that, I mean, can't they just be $1.99? I mean, and this was, again, less than 20 years ago when I was talking to Dan about that, and it was off the record. But yeah, I'm just like, and that, it wasn't on a podcast. But yeah, man, and again, like you said, we're at $5 a comic now.
Yeah, and like, look, back to risk. As a fan, going and like, so you have $20 that you're going to spend on comics. That's 3 comics
And change.
and that's 3 comics, and if they have a lollipop by the registry, you can buy that, right? Like, it's nothing.
Yep.
And like even like, I remember when I was like working really hard, and I was like, oh, I've got $100 a week to spend on my books. That doesn't go as far as it used to. But so people are risking no matter what they do, and it's across the board.
Yeah, from
And
the consumer to the publisher, and like you said, the middleman of the retailer. Absolutely.
And so we really wanted to make sure that we were showing people what we can do, and we were getting as much information out there as possible in as many different ways. And when you talk about building community, the reality is crowdfunding is a wonderful community. It's people that are choosing. They see a thing. It's not very speculative. It's not really like they're not like, like comics. I don't know. Like, you're kind of lasering in on something. You're absolutely choosing to look at that, and they are your audience at that point. They are the people that want to support something. And so the cold open as an initiative is us having, like, in film, the cold open is the scene in the James Bond movie where he's finishing up a previous adventure. He saves the day, the credits roll.
Sure.
That saving the day is the cold open. It sets up everything that you need to know. You know that Bond is a relentless badass that's going to jump off of the crane and fall through the window and do all the things. He'll get there. So for us, what we wanted to do was wanted to give you this taste, this, and like there have been Zero issues that had stuff that was like, it's the first 4 pages of a book or the first 6 pages of a book, and that's fine. We've done things in different ways, but what we wanted to do was give you a story that is absolutely set in that world and is completely additive to the story. But you can choose to not read this, and while your life is not as rich or you're full of love and joy, but like you don't have to read this. But if it's your thing, if you really like the murders, then yeah, it's a great thing to check out. It is like Murder Podcast is a full 12-page story. It has a beginning, middle, and end, and it's set very clearly, and it sets up everything you need to know about the dynamic of how this works. And then this fall, coming to ABC, we will release the series. And the great thing about it is that the creative team is the creative, like it's I should talk about my creative team. It is myself writing it. I'm doing cover A, drawing the covers, cover A. It is drawn by the absolutely fantastic Mike Tisserand. Mike and I worked together years ago on the Bad Karma project. He drew my Chaos Agent story.
Sure.
Mike's a veteran of animation, and he is brilliant. We're always trying to like steal animators for comics.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do because like animation pays real good.
Yeah,
it really does.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there is, as much as pay, there is consistency. There is stability in that gig, or there was before the past couple of years. It's been equally hard. But I've been trying to get Mike to come and do more comics for years, and I wanted to tell more stories with me. I know he has his own stories that he wants to tell that I've gotten a peek at some of those, and I just want to earn Mike's participation in this industry. I want to, we've got him here. I want to keep him now, and but he is doing such amazing things on this book. It is kind of a slightly animated style. It's not like Disney, but it's got more of a cartoony flair to it in the best kind of way. It's still amazing character work, but it is, John, a book called Murder Podcast with the most brutally violent stuff. And for me, there is something like you've seen my stuff for years. I draw people getting their arms ripped off and beat to death with them forever. Like it's just a staple of what I do. When you see somebody like Mike drawing moments of intense, brutal violence, it sort of triggers this other thing where you're like, oh, this is safe. No, it's not safe. And he loves it. He talked. We did like an interview thing, and we were recording, and like he was talking about that. Like he's used to being told, we need you to dial this back. Like, hey, this is animation. We can't. You can't.
Sure.
You can't show blood. And I'm like, well, he's always like waiting for me to say you have to dial this back, and I'm like, you could do like more if you want there. That's fine. Yeah. What if the whole area is covered in blood as opposed to just the
The puddle.
and so yeah, he's having a blast with it. And of course, my longtime colorist collaborator Nick Filardi. God, I love that man.
They're the best.
He makes magic with color. And you know, I my one of you're gonna see this. This is running through the thing for definitely for my projects with ignition, but then even with people that we're bringing in and working with. I just want the chance to work with these people forever. Like I I just want to give opportunities for cool people to make cool stuff and tell the stories they want to tell.
Attaboy.
And that's what we're doing. That's I've
Yeah.
got a great team. And World Design is doing our lettering. Scott Newman did the fantastic logo and the book design for all of our books. Um, this is a thing where like this is you know it is, in my opinion, the A team. I get to work with exactly who I want to, and the extra special treat is I know, like as a writer over the years, and even as an artist, I chose to do it a few times, but like there, there's times where you're like, hey, I'm not going to take, as much money or much money at all. Hey,
Sure.
I love this project so much. I'm not going to take a rate. I'm going to make sure that the entire art team gets all of that. Or hey, this is a passion project. Maybe it'll pay off down the road. We're just going to do this completely on spec.
Sure.
And I know that, and I respect that, and I've been there, and I get it. But damn, it feels good to know that the team that I'm working with are taken care of. They're getting a living wage, you know, healthy, competitive rates to make comics. That's, I mean, that was one of the things, the first things whenever we started this company that we talked about, how do we make this happen? And means the world to me to be able to do it.
That's excellent, man. People can go to the Kickstarter and see the interiors for the cold open. Is this a finite story? Is it a 6 issue? Is it 5 issues? What's the plan beyond the cold open?
I'm not sure that I'm allowed to say how long the series it is. It
Okay.
is a finite story.
Okay.
It's a finite story. But and the cool thing about this has really become, like I think it's very easy sometimes, to be like, I want this story to be 1,000 issues. Like people are gonna do that. We all have grand stories that we want to tell. I've always been a big fan of finite stories because I think that whether it's the Red Mother or the approach or various things I've told along the way, I think that giving myself permission to tell the story that I need to tell is very important. And so while we are being realistic, we are also big advocates for letting the story be what it needs to be.
Okay.
And I had, it's I had a great experience with this. I came in and I had a plan for how long I wanted it to be, and we had a conversation that led to adding more
Great.
because it needed to breathe. It
Certainly.
needed moments. I mean, it's funny. As a guy that started out as an artist predominantly, moving into writing, um, I think forever I always felt like I was like a high concept guy. I was like the crazy concept and the big action and stuff happening. I mean, like, I'm the guy that brought you an STD that makes you beautiful comic. Like I always have these kind of big ideas, but I always felt like that was where that was my lane. But like, I don't know if it's getting older or just understanding my own writing and who I am and what stories I want to tell, but like, I love character stuff so much. I love moments. Jamie teases me because he's like, "You're always in love with all your characters." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, not like in like an actual like I'm in love with them, but I do love these people, and I love it, giving you a glimpse into a thing, especially in horror, man. You got to like horror. You need to love somebody enough so that when the maniac with the chainsaw jumps out, you're scared to death that they're going to die,
Sure.
you know, or
Certainly.
that they're or that they're going to die before they tell the person that they love that how they actually feel or whatever that
I'm
is.
with you.
And so yeah, while I'm like I'm not even checking my phone. If Philip and Jamie are listening right now, they may be like, "Stop talking about this stuff," in a loving sort of way. But yeah, no spoilers.
You haven't spoiled anything.
But
It's cool.
yeah, but yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I
I
can't
get
I
that though,
haven't
man, because
finished.
truly that is my aversion to horror is investing in a character. And I really like this guy, and then and then, and then in Act 3, before we're finished, he falls in. Goddamn, I was when Gene Hackman passed away. This isn't a horror movie, but the Poseidon Adventure. Sorry,
Mhm.
everybody. That's a 52-year-old spoiler, but he's the hero literally up until like the last 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, and he sacrifices himself. And it's like, no, man, this is our hero. What are you doing?
Mhm.
Jesus.
I
So
mean,
bums me out, man.
I love the idea that nobody's safe in something.
I get it. I get it. Henry not only is telling me to watch my 52-year-old spoiler, but also, and I agree with him, he says Jeremy is one of the best in the industry, class act. Absolutely, Henry. I'm with you on that. Henry, of course, the writer of many great creator-owned things, but also the Gil Thorpe writer of the fantastic sports drama comic strip.
Henry is wonderful. I am a big fan of his. Also, I don't know if you know this or not, Henry is a pathological liar. And yeah, that's why he said that I'm a class act.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
again,
yeah.
for our publicity purposes, Jared, we'll stick with the happy story. It's all right. Don't
All
sweat
right,
it.
Henry,
But
love you. Thanks so much, buddy.
and I guess I have to ask because, of course, this book is called Murder Podcast. Will there be an audio component to your storytelling?
Maybe, maybe,
Sure.
maybe, John.
All right. Fair
Maybe.
enough. There you go. Again, good answer.
Yeah,
Good answer. Good answer.
yeah.
Show me maybe.
Yeah, yeah. There is yeah. We're I mean that is a cool thing about ignition. Like one of the things that I love, and maybe it's the thing about like, hey, build a company and then you can do the crazy shit you want to do. But we're really having fun doing the stuff around around these projects that we want to do. Um, we can't do everything. I mean, like I mean, while, you know, I would love to just have, like a maxi series TV series, BBC style TV series that drops with every project I do. I'm joking, but like I don't need that. But like what? But you can like we're doing interesting things with each project that are additive, and for us, it's really just about experience. I mean if you know me and if you know my projects like Conthology and even The Beauty in the Realm, I like thinking about stuff beyond the comic itself that is purely designed to push you back to the comic. I mean, the
Sure.
thing like for me, I love that at Ignition we have a really cool, fun, interesting media department that we're working with from jump. But for me, it's always in service of the comics.
Of
And it's
course.
cool that they are like, just make cool comics. We'll do our part.
Excellent.
That's an amazing thing.
Sure.
Yeah. And this is just about us making cool comics, man.
That's excellent, man. No, I'm really excited for you and this initiative. And again, reminding people, if you're just jumping in now, the Kickstarter campaign for Murder Podcast, The Cold Open, the first salvo in this story, just under 3 weeks left as we're recording. And go to Kickstarter, look up Murder Podcast, and you will find it. And I don't know, are there any wrinkles to the campaign that you want to promote?
I mean, it's just getting the coolest version. I mean, like there's, there I mean, the great thing about it is, we've got cool stuff available right now. As we'll be hitting our goal very soon. That was another thing too. Like, we, there's always the thing with Kickstarters, right? Like you can set your goal
Yeah,
at
yeah, exactly. Stretch goals and
whatever.
things. Sure.
Yeah. But like we set it. We set a very realistic. Like this is what this would cost to do this stuff.
Okay.
Kind of initial goal. And you can set it at 500 if you want,
Certainly.
or whatever it is. And we talked about that, but we wanted to be realistic about it, and we also wanted to earn the stuff the way everybody else sort of does. I mean,
I get it.
but as we go, like once we hit this thing, it's going to open up some stretch goals that are going to be really awesome. Some of them are really silly. One of my favorite things that we've got, and it's a fairly expensive tier, but you get a box of stuff from me. I always think kind of Haun crates, right? Like where you get kind of
Yes.
like sign like all the trades of the beauty or all the like you get a bunch of stuff, a page of artwork and various things like that. Another thing I'm doing, and we can talk more about it in a little bit even, but like I'm doing this video podcast show called Curious Haunts, and it's just me liking weird stuff and going to weird places and stuff like that. I've collected oddities for years and years and years, like strange, like bones and haunted things and stuff like that. I love that stuff. So one of the tiers that you can actually get with Murder Podcast is a box that includes the signed book and all the t-shirt and all the extra stuff, but you also get a hand-picked oddity from my collection.
Wow.
That I will send you. So we're talking about some object that may or may not be terrifying. And trust me, because I'm a weirdo and want to send terrifying items to people's houses, I am going to pick amazing stuff.
Attaboy.
But like, comics should be fun. This should be enjoyable. I wake up every day and now that I'm getting older, slowly creak my way down the stairs. But I get up and like I'm excited to make things. Like I I look forward to our daily Ignition Press meetings talking about, and it's everything from like, hey, this new artwork from this artist that I can't tell you about yet came in today, or hey, we just heard back from this writer that we've been wanting to work with, and they pitched us this thing that's insane and nobody else would publish this, and we're gonna. Like that's the thing that we get to do. And I love doing this. And taking that into stuff like this Kickstarter, where we have opportunities to just mess and have fun. And like, I'm like, hey, I like oddities. I want an opportunity to like get them in people's hands, is joyous to me.
That's excellent, man. A couple comments from the chat. From one artist to another great guy and one of the best looking guys in comics, Chris Minton, saying loves Curious Haunts. And another great podcaster, Kari Sanders, joining us. And Kari, have I ever told you that my radio name in the 80s, because I had a very stuffy program director, he didn't like Suntress. He's like, how about Angloing that up a little bit more? And I was John Sanders. So we're kind of spiritually related, Kari. But she says, hey, John and Jeremy, just tuning in. Already pledged a few days ago. This Kickstarter looks awesome, which is fantastic to hear. Will Ignition, Jeremy, will it be mostly horror, or will it be other genres as well?
No, it's not. I mean, that thing in Zoolander where he's like, Hansel's so hot right now, right? But like, horror's so hot right now. I'm like, it's having a moment. And
this is truly the last 10 years, as far as comics go, it has been such a pleasure. And again, I'm not a big horror reader or viewer, but that said, I certainly admire and respect how horror comics have really, found their way. And there's a lot of great horror books out there. So I get what you're saying.
I've talked about it a few times in various things on my podcast and then some stuff I've written, but like, I grew up incredibly poor here in the Midwest, and like a single mom who loved us so much, but just like did the best she could. But so my experience with comics was literally she worked at a dime store, and I got all the, like, whenever they would tear the covers off.
Yes, in the
I got
bag.
this.
Yeah,
Yes,
like
I
the three comics in a bag. Absolutely.
yeah. But Charlie would tear the covers off and send them in, and then he would just hand me a stack. And,
that's great, man.
Or yeah, and I didn't. I mean, I probably figured it out, but like, I'm talking about like being like 3 years old and 4 years old having stacks of comics. But then my other experience with it was really like going to like flea market, like antique flea market, not antique shops, like dirt malls, like really, really like flea market kind of things.
I'm with you.
And there was one in Grove, Oklahoma that we used to go to, and it was like in this like converted like chicken coop, basically. It was like massive, but it was so cool. But always, 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 they had a stack of comics, and they must have just like had hundreds of them somewhere, like thousands of them.
Sure.
But they would come out, and it would just be a massive stack, 12, 14 inches tall, of everything that you could imagine. But like, a lot of it, whenever I was a kid, was the EC comics, like old horror comics.
Cool.
It was westerns. You get war tales. There were superhero comics in there, but I kind of feel like maybe being a flea market, it was probably those got picked out first or whatever. And so, we would go and they'd be like a nickel a piece or something like
Sure.
that. And so my mom would drop down a dollar, and again, a dollar was a lot to her in that time. And she really would let me get these things, but they like the idea that comics were not just like, people talk about comics and they talk about superhero comics as if that is the medium. and like that's not like
No,
super. I mean, and we know this. We've had this conversation. You and I have had this damn conversation.
sure.
Um, comics themselves are a medium, but superhero comics are a genre within a medium.
Absolutely.
And the more variety that we can have, and that we can give people out there, the more enjoyable all this is. I've got a 15-year-old and a 20-year-old. My two boys, Ethan and Owen. You know them, John. You know, they they grew up around all of this, and they've had, they love comics, and they've always loved comics. Like they're like, you know, Scotty Young was their buddy that they hung out with, and that also somehow did funny books. Like they liked Scotty for Scotty. They didn't know that he made funny books until later when he became their hero, and now I hate him. But like, but like, the other night I walked in and my 15-year-old kid was laying in bed reading volume 2 of The Beauty. And I'm like, okay, these are kids also that like love manga and love the broader variety of stories than just a lot of the things. And so I love that. And getting back to your question about ignition, is we want to tell the stories creators want to tell. Our first 2 books, there's Murder Podcast, and then the other one is nothing like Murder Podcast.
Okay.
And we're going to be releasing a very consistent, well thought out slate of stuff. And it's not just all going to be the same kind of stuff. Like, yeah, you all, based on me saying that we've got Colin Bunn, Leah and Stephanie Williams. Gosh, I need to like put somebody between them so I don't actually sound like I know they're not sisters. But like, but yeah, the Williams sisters, and like
Sigh.
Cy and Jim McCann. Like,
Jimmy, yeah.
you kind of get an idea based on that slate, and like, yeah, Colin and I are horror guys through
Sure.
and through.
Sure.
Our hearts bleed horror.
Yes, indeed.
But like, it's not just going to be that kind of stuff. And sometimes the great thing about this is we've had opportunities where we've said to creators like, hey, what's the thing that you've always wanted to tell but you've kind of held back? Like, what's the thing? And there'll be somebody that like maybe does predominantly superhero stuff. I mean, if you look at like a lot of what like Leah and Stephanie both have done, it's a lot of superhero stuff. And and then we're like, well, what else you want to do? And you see people like light up, like, oh, I've always wanted to tell an espionage comic, or oh, I've always wanted to tell a crazy heist story, or I've wanted to tell something that's like a like genuine, all feelings in love story with like a really cool twist.
Certainly.
We want to invest in that. For us, we believe in and support talent. And I am in no way saying that other companies aren't doing the same thing. I see
No.
it time and time again. There is
Sure.
so much love out there, but we're doing it our way. Like we're we're leaning into it. Like we're really just saying like, hey, what do you want to tell? How can we make that happen? How like we love this, and it's incredibly important to us.
I love it, buddy. Let's see. Well, you saw Artie Baltazar jumping in saying that he loves what he's hearing, so that's great to hear. But
like
also,
Art.
let's see. Kari wanted to know regarding the Kickstarter, is there a way to get an oddity as an add-on? Because I guess she's already pledged her support.
Can I ask a favor? Can you message us, Kari? I'll see what I can do. I know that the team that's kind of running that, they may have a reason why that can happen or can't happen. But I promise you, if you message and you say Jeremy sent me, that they'll listen. And
So
what,
contact through the Kickstarter. You
yeah,
leave a
through
message at
just yeah, you're already a backer. Just send a message and just ask if that's a possibility. I know that there are add-ons that have been added since the beginning, and you know, uh, there are things that have been added, and I know that there is potential to add more. And you know, ultimately, this is about connection and just you know, like if I can make it happen, I think it's hilarious and would love to. So there, you know, yeah,
That's cool.
absolutely.
And truly, Jerry, I agree with you that especially for a new publisher, you're building community. And that is the great thing about Kickstarter and some of the other crowdfunding platforms that are out there. And this is giving you a chance to gather your initial core audience. So, I mean, I just had Palmiotti on a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
Jimmy's the king of Kickstarter, as far as I'm
Mhm.
concerned, when it comes to comic book people, and really has it down to a science. And he always says, yeah, I can always count on my core pretty much backing what I put out. How long have you been doing Kickstarter, Jer?
Like 11 and a half minutes, 12, 13.
No, really? I was going to say like
Yeah. No,
Hauntology. Wasn't that a
yeah,
Kickstarter?
no, I've been doing, Back to Bad Karma, over a
Right,
decade of
right.
Kickstarters. Yeah. And I've done all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
And that's, I've ran several of my own. I've been involved in a lot. I believe, like, one of the things that you saw very early on was this idea that, like, there was the classic way of getting these things in people's hands, and that was the way. And you know, I regularly am meeting young creators coming in. Like literally at C2E2, I did portfolio reviews and was talking to a group of people. And one of the things that I kept saying was like, hey, don't you don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to like you don't have to wait for something to be picked up to make a thing. Like, keep making things. Like, there's this one young lady, and she was just amazing short stories. They were great. And I was like, just keep making these and then do a little collection of them. And then put it out there, crowdfund it, or put it out there digitally, or do it on Zoop, or any of these, any number of things that you can do. Like, there are paths for things right now, and that's incredibly exciting. And the way that I came into this industry doesn't really exist anymore. It's not the same kind of thing. You can't hold an editor at gunpoint and make them give you a job. That just doesn't happen anymore. That's not how I got in. That's not how I got in. But
No, but you're right in terms of, and I know Bendis tells his students this when he teaches, and we've seen it happen even before I started podcasting with Scott McCloud, and his books about how the internet has suddenly made making things that much easier. But now, my God, we've got Webtoons and Tapas and all these digital opportunities. I think back to my good friend Dave Wachter, who now is an industry regular and constantly gets great opportunities on wonderful books from the top publishers and stuff. And I remember when he was doing his page a week web comic, which was this fun like Western that had kind of kind of put the X-Men in the old West, essentially would be the elevator pitch, and but different. And it was a great idea. And truly, again, he had his work out there. People saw it, and then opportunities happen. And again, this is what I try to do with the podcast as well. And Word Balloon became its own thing, and I got some short jobs here and there in television because of Word Balloon. It had nothing to do with my 30 years in radio. It was all about Word Balloon. So I get it.
yeah, it's a delightfully connective industry, and we can sort of do anything.
Yep.
Kari had a question.
Yes, I was going to get to that next.
Yeah,
Exactly.
let's do that.
Are there going to be books from Ignition that are being brought back from the dead that need to get restarted, perhaps.
Maybe. Boy, I'm being really coy tonight, aren't I? I'm just
No,
like,
that's cool. Again, man, hey, you're
yeah.
doling this out slowly. I respect that.
I mean, definitely. I mean, look, I mean, we've said as much that the beauty's coming back. You know,
Indeed.
we're going to be doing more beauty. There definitely are things that we want to do more of, and we want to get people. Yeah, the reality of it is we want to give people opportunities to tell the stories they want to tell. You know, there is stuff from. Man, I want to talk about one creator that I'm so excited about, and I can't. But there specifically one creator, and I'm like dying to get more of that project,
Great.
and we're gonna make that happen. You know, I want to be clear that like not everything is possible. I mean, often you've got creators that have one's doing very different things and aren't available to do things, or you know lives and paths and things change over the years. Some things, we not all creators have all of their projects. I mean, that's another thing, is like,
Sure.
the rights sometimes are locked up in various ways,
Understood.
and you have to be respectful and understand like that's the thing. But like as as much as a greedy comics nerd as I am, I can't always be like, hey, you should go over here and pry this out of this company's hands, because that's not always possible, nor should it always happen. And
I hear
so,
you, buddy.
and the majority of publishers, like they're having great, like I believe that most publishers also want creatives to be happy, like, hey, if this has been out of print for this amount of time, we're not really gonna do anything. We can't do anything or whatever. Go with God. And that happens. That's happened several times. So yeah,
Palmiotti just had that happen to him with GI Zombie, which was an idea he gave to DC during the New 52, and it was like, hey, we're not going to do anything with this. You get it back. And now he's got GI Zombie teaming up with Painkiller Jane, as another one of his characters. And no, I get it, man. And again, it's great that the publishers that do, and of course the great Dennis Kitchen, king of the underground comics, that was his initiative from the start. Was, sure, publish with me, and in 5 years the rights go back to you. Do whatever you want with it. I'll just have it for a limited amount of time. And it is nice when publishers do allow for that kind of arrangement.
yeah. I mean, and so yeah, we're gonna see some of that. One of the things we are committed to new content, like that, and we want new stories. We want exciting stuff. We will be publishing old stuff, but we also want to make sure that we're not just a clearinghouse for old stuff.
I get
Like
it.
that's, so we are going to be mindful of that. Like, while, yeah, you're going to get more beauty and probably some new pretty versions of those. Soon, you probably will not be getting, 4 other things from my library,
Okay.
and if it is weird, like we joke that at Ignition, we joke that I'm the guinea pig, right? Like I'm the guinea pig. Sometimes whenever it gets too stressful and there's too much, I think I'm more of a lemur and wanting to jump off something. But no, I'm the guinea pig.
All right.
So a lot of this stuff is like testing out how it sort of works, so that we can then really do it right for the next
I get
person.
it. Yeah.
And we're doing it right across the board. Where I am so proud of, like I mean, the weird thing is, like, when you're a creative, but you're also building the company, like it's as much about us taking care of the next person and the next person and building this in the right way. But also,
Sure.
I mean, I've always had a pretty good relationship with the internal workings of the companies, right? Like, you make friends with production staff. You meet people doing marketing. You understand the headache that a publisher goes through day in and day out. I've always had good relationships and known these people along the way. But man, is it like when you're waking up and you see like Bree Sarpy, our director of marketing, like deftly dealing with something, and you're like, oh wow, like you did that perfectly. You got to the idea of what that is. You understood what it needed to be, and you took something and distilled it down to perfection. Or like, I earlier today. I hopped on a Zoom with Jamie talking about something in Murder Podcast, and I was like, "Hey, I've written myself into a corner here." And I talked to him for 20 minutes and felt so, like just like empowered to tell the right version of that story. And it's amazing seeing these people work so hard. I had a conversation also with Philip earlier today, and like I watched I watched a perfect example of what leadership is. I watched him take an idea that was different than what he was planning on working with and listen. And Philip has an ability to truly genuinely listen, and I will take a bullet for that man for it. But he listened and figured out a path forward, in a way that I think sometimes you get people like throwing stuff at each other, or, like, and it's amazing. And so I feel so fortunate to be working with these people, and I feel empowered to do these things. And I only joke about feeling like I'm a lemur sometimes.
Well, we mentioned the beauty a couple times, and people may or may not know that. And I'm very proud of you and Hurley and the whole beauty team. But apparently, this is in process of turning into a streaming movie or series. What's going on media wise for the beauty?
So the beauty is going to be an all new TV series on FX.
Wow.
Yeah, we are working with the absolutely brilliant Ryan Murphy of American Horror Story,
Wow.
Lee, Nip Tuck. Like, if it's in my queue, it's probably something by Ryan Murphy. Um, you know, and it's been amazing. I I think Bendis has talked about this a lot. Like the idea that over the years, these opportunities, happen. Like, to have your stuff developed, and there's the wave of just overwhelming gratefulness mixed with anxiety, mixed with hope, and then you wait 10 years, and it's in development. It's in development.
Sure.
It's like waiting for Godot, right? Like one day Godot will show up. He'll eventually get there. Eventually,
But not right
but
now.
one day.
Yeah, not right
but
now.
but not right now.
I'm hip.
And this is happening. Like, we're seeing little snippets here and there of things. So to answer your favorite question, everybody that may be asked that been thinking of this, is how much do creative control do the creators have over this thing. That's too much pressure for me, man. I got a comic company to run. I got stories to write. I've got all this stuff. Um, it is in great hands, and I believe in the stories that these people want to tell. Ultimately, also, one of the greatest gifts that you're given as a creative of something like this is that the beauty exists. That comic, that comic is there. No matter what comes of it, and it's going to be awesome. But like the original, I had a really weird conversation recently with a fellow horror fan that I love to debate with. He's hilarious and cracks me up. But we're talking about, like, we were talking about Stephen King projects, right? And like, oh, but the movies are never as good. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, you can't tell me that a bad adaptation of a Stephen King thing steals my joy, when it comes to reading it for the first time. Or we're not talking about it, but whatever that project is,
Sure.
um,
There's an old Hollywood story about Raymond Chandler being at a Hollywood party at his house, actually, and one of his adaptations to film wasn't great, and the party goer is like, "Oh, it's such a shame what they did to your book," and he's like, "Come with me," and he took him to the study, and he had all of his wonderful books bound in beautiful leather and everything. He goes, "They're right there. Nothing. They still exist. Nothing's wrong." He goes, "Oh, you know what happened? I got a good check, and on to the next thing. Don't worry about it. I'm not worrying about it." And no, man. So
well,
I hear you.
yeah, and the reality of this is, like, I mean, these things, like, the best part of this, and The Walking Dead with Tony and Robert and Charlie, them
Sure.
working on that sort of thing, like, that sold more comics. That got more comics in more people's hands. The show stands on its own and is awesome and connects back and all this stuff. But like, the reality of this is these are more opportunities to tell more fun stories, man. That's the thing that matters.
Attaboy.
And if this means that I can take my family on vacation and not have to, like, draw 4 covers while I'm gone, or to be able to finally replace the shitty 1999 Honda Accord that I've been driving around forever. It's coming, and it's
Attaboy.
not, it's I think people sometimes also think that it's like, fuck you money, and no, it's not. No, it's not. It's being okay for a little while, and it's having a great experience, and
Yeah.
it's um hopefully, if it does well, having more opportunities to continue to tell more stories, and that's a beautiful thing.
I get it.
um so yeah, I'm nervous, but you know what, I'm just super, super grateful.
Remind people of the concept behind the beauty.
The beauty is about an STD that makes you beautiful. So, of course, the story starts, volume one starts 2 years into having this. 60% of the population has the beauty because, I mean, like, one of the things Ryan talked about whenever we were working on it was, like, Ozempic culture, right? Like the idea that, like, there's people that need this, and there's people that, like, just kind of want to, for vanity, right? They're gonna get.
Well, yeah, man. They want to lose that 20 or whatever, and especially on the West Coast in Hollywood and stuff. Yeah, they can afford the $300 a month to get
Right,
Ozempic and stuff. And then
right.
there are people like myself that, because of health issues, need Ozempic, and thank
Yeah,
God, with proper insurance, can get Ozempic at a reasonable cost. So I get it.
Yeah, and then there's people like me that rock this dad bod and are just going to continue doing so because this is as good as it's going to get. And but the beauty is sort of that thing. Like if you could have in big damned quotation fingers, you could be Hollywood hot, which is a weird conceptual thing anyway, like we don't all like the same thing and others or in ourselves, but like would you do it? And some people would say yes, some people would say no, and they're for all sorts of reasons. You can, and it becomes a, I hate the term morality play, but it's a morality play.
Sure.
It's an examination of why or why not. Why would you do that or why would you not? So 2 years in, then it's been amazing. For 2 years, 60% of the population has this thing. And it makes you a little bit stronger and a little bit healthier and a little bit like, people are kind of peak. And then somebody dies. And they die bad.
Yeah. As a witness, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a near future sci-fi horror, body horror, police procedural drama. And yeah.
No, it's cool, man. And of course, in the first arc, I'm in the book.
You are
a character named after me, which
yes.
That is always the greatest compliment when people like yourself put me in your books. And,
well, I couldn't let Bendis hog up all the glory, like I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
No, I get it. I understand.
Yeah. That guy's been a rock star forever. I'm gonna name a character after you too, just so that I can,
It meant a
earn
lot.
that love.
King just did it in his Black Canary miniseries. He had me as, and it was it's Black Canary fighting Lady Shiva in kind of an MMA thing. And knowing my boxing background and stuff, I'm the, although he changed my my color, and that's okay, that's all right. But yeah, it's the character is spiritually attributed to me, which is very sweet. So that's funny. Kari, by the way, does a great podcast called Splash Pages with her buddies. And they've been very sweet at conventions when we're all together. It's like, hey, we need you to sign all those Ultimate Spider-Mans that you're in. And I'm like, okay, great. And the Prince wants to know, am I on Ozempic? You're out here getting swole. No, I'm as I've told my friends who did notice the weight loss, and believe me, guys, and women listening, very much needed, truly from a health standpoint. I'm down from 3 chins to 2, which is good. And I'm down a couple belt sizes and a shirt size, and I'm about halfway to where I want to be. And truly, so it's been an interesting thing. And I'm proud to say that most of the weight I lost was prior to going on Ozempic. So we got that going for us. But let's see. I want to see if I missed anything else. Oh, the Prince also said, most things I respect about those who create is just loving the craft. You've got a fan in me from whenever I legit cop whenever I can. That's cool, Prince. Yeah. Very nice.
I mean, that's the thing. I think that like these things are a lot of work. Like I remember when I figured out that drawing comics was a job, right? That like some poor broken individual sat in a room for an entire month and made magic.
Yeah.
You remember Amazing Heroes?
Sure. My spiritual inspiration for what I do on Word Balloon was the fantastic Amazing Heroes magazine of the 80s. And every now and then I find them in dollar bins, or I'll look on eBay and find issues and stuff. And it was the best. Go on.
I love it. I mean, and that actually really tracks because I can see the same spirit there, the same joy and curiosity, that you bring to this in that. So that makes
in-depth interviews in a magazine, it was creators at that moment. What was Frank Miller thinking when he was doing Dark Knight? What was Dave Gibbons thinking when he was drawing Watchmen? So no, and again, that's what I try to do here.
Well, I found the issue that was and I ended up getting a bunch of, but like
Sure. Oh, they're great.
one off the shelf when Electra Assassin dropped.
Sure.
And there's an interview with Frank. I think it was both Frank but they talk about Sienkiewicz and his process, and I knew by that point that people were writing and drawing. Like I had figured out a
Oh,
lot of
yeah,
like,
sure.
but honestly, like that particular issue was the one that made me like for a kid that loved, you know, uh, you know, Neil Adams and a lot of the classic, like powerhouse guys, Buscema, I absolutely, the Kubert, uh, Joe Kubert specifically, but then like, the boys and everything, like, and then into the 90s, then, with like, the comics Brat Pack kind of thing, but like, I knew that I wanted to do this, but there was something transformative about that interview with Sienkiewicz. And I saw in this interview him doing stuff, and I got all the issues and was poring over this like bizarre, completely different thing. It was so different than anything else out there that I was looking at. And I remember like showing it to my art teacher at the time and him sort of breaking down for me like, oh yeah, this is obviously like gouache that he's using here, and this is fleck, and he's like flinging the brush at the page, and he's doing all this stuff. And and I figured out that this was a job, but it is a job. Like, I am a fart's breadth from 50 years old. I am 49.725, like years old. And I am of the age of comics creator where we talk about our physical therapy routine because we drew comics in our 20s and 30s and 40s. What chair are you sitting on that isn't killing your back? Oh, how do
How do you
what's
keep your hands? How do you keep your hands healthy? Sure.
how do,
Absolutely,
you know
man.
do you go to the chiropractor? Do you get massages too? Do you do acupuncture? And these are things we talk about.
Sure.
And so whether it's a writer or an artist, and I'm going to get vaguely pointed for a moment and say this: whenever people say something like this creator is trying to tank this book that they're working on or whatever, like, I no,
I hear you, buddy.
man,
I,
no.
I hear you, buddy.
This person is working their ass off just trying to like do the thing. I know so many creators that are brilliant people that you love, that are working long, long hours. I have a buddy that lives about an hour and a half away in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and I love the man dearly. He's one of my favorite people, and we don't get to hang out like we should as two comic creators because he's working the long hours on the monthly books, and he's rocking it. He's brilliant and doing great things, but it's grueling. This is a lot of work. So taking it all the way back, this is about love. This is about loving this thing, and we will do whatever we need to do it. So yeah.
Attaboy. A couple comments. Shay, who, by the way, I'm so, and thank you, Shay, for putting the Kickstarter URL here on the video. So thank you very much for that. Again, less than 3 weeks left in the campaign, and also says that Shay just supported your project. Good luck. And then, and the prince also says, have you hit the unk age, or would you call yourself an OG? Because John is a school. All right. I feel like I'm at the unk age because I only understood half of that, but I appreciate it, man. So,
no, I'm, you know, I always think that like having kids is sort of the real testament to age. You
sure,
know,
sure.
I mean, uh, my my 15-year-old, he's today he's got his driver's permit.
Wow.
He's driving me around. Today it was raining here in town, so I was like, okay, buddy, here's a whole new test.
Good for you,
I,
Jer.
I want you to, it's driving, you know, we're going to drive and we're going to drive in the rain. It's going to suck. You need to add an extra car length. We talked about all this stuff, and,
Excellent.
you know, and my 20-year-old, my Ethan is with his best friend, producing my video podcast show together.
Wonderful.
They film it, they co-direct it.
Beautiful.
They edit it together, and he works at my favorite restaurant in town, this brunch spot called the Bruncheonette.
Okay.
And Ethan, you know, he started out in the dish pit, and he's getting new skills as he's going. It's like this real opportunity for mentorship, and he is willing to just do the work.
Excellent.
And you know, so yeah, you know, no, you know, I'm no, there are plenty of people that are OG. You know, I'm just getting old, but yeah, I don't know if you know, I at this point, I mean, like what, Frank Miller's OG, right? Like that's,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah,
Sienkiewicz is,
of our current generation, I would certainly
yeah,
put Frank as one of those deans. Mignola might be another example, a
yeah,
little couple years after Frank, but certainly,
right,
you know.
right,
And also, by the way, I'm really glad you brought up, because truly, and every now and then I gotta crap on some of my fellow podcasters. Kari and her crew at Splash Pages are not part of this group, but I know a very well established podcast that really thinks they really know their shit. And I always call them, they're the chin strokers. Well, it's a shame that artist A doesn't have the skill that he once had. And I'm just like, F you. And I think back to wonderful creators who are no longer with us, like Kirby, like Tony De Zuniga, who you go back to their, the great Gene Colan, you go back to their final projects, and yeah, you know something, sadly they did miss a step, but they were putting their heart and soul in it. And thank God we got them till the very end and doing interesting books. And
yeah,
nothing angers me more than these amateurs that some claim to be artists, but have the nerve to shit on creators that aren't as nimble as they were in their 20s. And it's like, how dare you? I forget what celebrity. Well, of course, Greta Thunberg, the environmentalist. How
right,
dare you? And yes,
yeah.
I mean, so that is my exclamation when they do that. And I've made
Well,
enemies with some of these people because I've called them out on it and said, you don't know what
right.
the fuck you're talking about. Shut up.
Well, I think we live in a society where like hot takes are hot. You know, like
Yes,
everybody's
hot
kind of on
takes.
something.
Man,
Well, like,
I fucking hate hot takes. God
well,
bless you, Jer.
no, but I mean,
Hot take.
you know, hot takes like everybody. I was a loudmouth 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, but at
But we didn't have the
times too.
megaphone, Jer. I mean, it's one thing
But
like to be among your friends and go, hey, you know
oh,
something? I don't
oh
know if
yeah,
that still has it anymore, whether it's an
yeah.
athlete or whatever talent you might have. And it's another thing to go, hey, how you doing? Social media. This person sucks now. Hot take, you know?
Well, so I had a thing early on, and I'm actually I'm not going to say their name, um, out of love and respect. I was at a convention, and a creator that I always had a lot of admiration for. I was in his queue, and he was doing a sketch for somebody, and he hands it to the guy, and it was, it's fairly early on. This is 25 years ago.
Okay.
And the guy was a dick about it. He's like, "Oh, this isn't like, eh."
Oh.
And and the creator rightly said, "Hey, well, if you don't have to pay for it. It's fine. I'll just."
Wow.
And my buddy that I was with was like, "Can I give you $20 for that?" And he was like, Sure, yeah, okay."
Fantastic.
And my buddy bought it and loves it to this day. But but the creator actually said, like, this is like a really vulnerable moment. He was like, "My hands are just, I've the arthritis has really
Yeah.
gotten bad." And he's like, I just can't do it like I used to." But
Yeah.
seeing his face, the vulnerability in that moment,
Sure.
and I don't believe that if my buddy hadn't, like, we just, like, I saw this, and part of my nature is just always like, I just want to show love, and, like,
Yeah.
and but the vulnerability on his face in that moment was that I just wish that I could do what I used to do. And so I would hope when that book comes out, or you get that sketch, or you see the thing, you're allowed to mourn that this person's work that you love has changed. You're allowed to. There are creatives that, like, I've seen something from, and I'm like, "Oh, this is different, or not as good, or whatever it is," as time goes by. Like, dude, it's gonna happen to me. I know it. I I I recently, for the first time in my life, had kind of a carpal tunnel issue, and I realized that, like, but it was also like a trigger finger. That,
I
like,
get
where,
it.
like,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
finger, the and then kind of gets scar tissue in it, and it kind of locks in a certain way.
Yep. Have had that happen to me, buddy.
And I was like,
As a
"Oh
writer,
shit, I
I've
can't,
had
I
that happen.
can't, I
Yeah.
can't, I can't draw. I can't draw for 12 hours anymore." Like, I was brutal to myself. Feel how you need, like, mourn that time has passed for that creator. Love what they did, respect them for who they are, and give people a little grace. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, like you know uh people, we all talk about AI art and what's coming, and what a mess that is. Yeah, you know what? That's not ever going to get tired. That's going to be able to do that's
Oh,
going to be
sure.
able to do the most weird approximation of Jack Kirby that there ever was,
100%.
forever.
Yep.
It's never going to have the soul. So, you know what? Love the creators that you love. Mourn for the fact that they're getting old, and that shit's falling off of them, and their backs hurt, and their eyes are blown out. you know, but my gosh,
Yeah. Well, like Shay's saying, yeah,
uh,
respect their legacy, both as an artist and as a person. Absolutely. Well said, Shay.
Shay knows what's up.
Yep.
Thank you. Yep.
Absolutely, man. No,
Yeah.
I appreciate the tangent, Chair, because truly, yeah. And again, hey, man, a guy that wrote as much as broadcasted back in my 20s and 30s and stuff, and carpal tunnel has done its damage on me. Thank God there is things like Dragon that you can, talk in a microphone and have it all type out, because even handwriting hurts for me. So I get it. I so get it. Here, Salsa Shark. Great name, Salsa Shark. Hey, Jeremy, I still have my single issue of... there we go. My first contact with Jeremy was on this book. I still have my single issues of Battle Hymn in a long box. I pledged on day one. Will the new series satirize podcasting and podcast culture? There's a good question.
So thank you. I mean, Battle Hymn was a real it was a special thing in my career. It was an opportunity. Um, I still think about that trip that Clay and I made down to Dallas that year and talking about that. And, um, you know, it's a special book. It holds a really special place in my heart. Like most creatives, I look back at it now and wish I had done better. But I know that it means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it means a lot to me. So thank you so much. And I truly, nothing really like you get to this point in your career where you you see the growth and when you're working when day in and day out like I always talk about the idea that like if I liked something that I drew, like if I get to issue uh 23 of this book and I can look back at issue 22 and still not cringe my way through my chair, uh it's a good thing.
Believe me, Jerry, I do that with air checks and video of myself from years ago, and it's like, oh, if I only knew then what I know now. Absolutely.
Right.
So, yeah, I
Absolutely.
get it.
So it means a lot to me that the work that I've done, that people appreciate that, and I'm so grateful. So thanks. Um, will the new series satirize podcasting and podcast culture? Um, I think that there is some commentary on it as a pair of old white dudes making podcasts ourselves, John. I think
Yeah,
that there is a nod to that and sort of a nod to the fact that there is a podcast for everything.
truly.
So yeah, there's a little bit. There's and then just jaws get ripped off and stuff like that. It's I mean
Uh,
there's like my favorite stories. Like, you get the genre, right? You get the genre of the story, but then you realize that like life itself is is kind of a comedy at times and definitely a drama at times, and there's horror there, and sometimes it's a little sexy, like all these things kind of exist and you can have all those things all at once. So I try to bring, yes, this is a horror story, but there is commentary on the world around us and podcast culture and how ridiculous we can be. A little bit of that in there, definitely.
the best and worst thing about podcasting is anyone can do it. Nobody's stopping you. And there are brilliant podcasts and there are knucklehead podcasts. And
Right.
there are very sweet people that are trying their damnedest, and God bless them. And and I don't mean that in any sort of condescending way. It's just my own observation coming from years of broadcasting and kind of failing in and getting all my, it's like stand-ups who, especially older stand-ups and stuff, who had the dive clubs that they could kind of learn their craft and now are considered vets and stuff. And listen, I'm still learning. I say that with no false modesty. And I'm still trying to evolve, even though I am in my dotage. As my buddy Rob Burnett said, we've got one foot in the grave, God forbid. But
Isn't there a weird thing too where you like, I remember my grandfather was a farmer, and we were you'd go out and you'd do tasks on the farm, and I remember like watching him do things like building a fence, right?
sure,
And there was an efficiency to it. Like he had done this hundreds and hundreds of times. And I'm like, you have the little, you hit the nail. Yeah, you hit your thumb, and you shoots off into and you have to go pick it up out of the field because you don't want to run over with a truck or whatever. Um, and you realize that, like, the 10,000 hours, kind of concept, like,
Malcolm Gladwell, absolutely.
you really get good at this shit at the end.
Yeah,
It's like you finally get to that point where you're like, hey, I can finally drive a post,
the
stretch the
first time.
wire,
The first time.
perfect
Yeah,
the first time,
yeah.
and then you're like, well, I'm gonna go retire now because that's how it is.
Hilarious. Well, the good news is, folks, even though Jer is starting to approach his 50s, he's got a lot of comics and a lot of storytelling left, and truly very excited for Ignition Comics and this first effort, Murder Podcast, The Cold Open. This is a 0 issue, and there is a Kickstarter campaign. I'm going to put up the URL once again that Shay was kind enough to put the URL up there. So there it is for the video audience. And again, less than 3 weeks to go. And also coming soon, more issues of The Beauty, which is currently in development at FX.
Yeah.
Just the tip of the iceberg for what's coming in the weeks and months ahead for Jeremy Haun and Ignition Comics. A comment from Salsa Shark. I really like everything you've done since Battle Hymn, like The Beauty and Red Mother. First time I ever came across Danny Luckett's amazing artwork. So that's cool to hear. But yeah, Jeremy, am I missing any? Go ahead and make your comment, Jer.
No, I mentioning Danny, like, I am, again, so fortunate in my career to be able to work with the talent that I have. And, there's a point that I hit where I realized that, like, if I wanted to draw every idea that I had, I would never begin to get to them in my lifetime. And the reality of it is that even telling the ideas that I have, I have this laundry list, the San Diego boat list where, I was talking about the 20 things that I was wanting to tell. I've told easily probably 10 of those things, and 10 more, 12 more, 15 more came in to replace those. And that's part of creativity is,
100%.
You get excited about things. You have things that you want to tell. I don't know that Murder Podcast, no, it would not exist if I didn't have a decade of listening to and loving podcasts and looking at the people in my life that are obsessed with these things and affected by these things, and thinking about them and being like, I want to tell a story for you. One thing I do want to say about, Ignition that's really important, is that we believe in the growth and sustainability of the comics industry. Like, we truly believe that this medium is special and its own kind of magic. And one of the things that we've had to do for years is focus just on our endemic comic audience, right? Like, and make no mistake, we love the comic audience. We truly do. We love all of you, but we also want to bring in new people to join us. Because look, I'm a fan to the gills. But we want to bring in, fans, and like the horror community for me is like this amazing, dark, twisted mirror to the comics community.
Sure.
It's a community. The horror community loves horror. Like they like, like if you go to a horror convention, it is so similar and that's so vastly different than a comics convention. It's fascinating. But like the horror community, like we're used to like getting like 25 horror movies released in a year, or 50 horror movies, or whatever that number is, right? And you get used to like 4 being good.
Sure.
But you watch all the others because they're horror and
I'm hip.
because they give you that fix.
I'm hip.
And it doesn't really matter if it's a horror movie or a game or a board game or a novel or a whatever it is. Like a comic, you check it out.
Sure.
And I think that like our goal is to meet fans where they are and then show them the magic of this medium that we love, to get them into comic shops. We with doing the Kickstarter, like, this is not about us like stepping past the shops. It's not. Our goal, and even what we're doing in the end of the cold open, is providing information on how to find a comic shop in your area.
Good.
Because for us, this is about community and it matters. So yeah, that's an important thing that I really want to stress is that the questions that you have about ignition and what we're doing and why we're doing it. I mean, first of all, reach out, ask us. We'll talk about it. Like if as long as it's not like, tell me who that creator that you're so excited to work with, like, I can't necessarily say that, but I can definitely talk to you about the care that we're putting into this and the thought we're putting into this. And I promise you that if there's something you're like, what about this? We have probably thought about it and are addressing it internally, and we'll be giving it thought and care and love. But beyond that, we're also listening and continue to listen. We can't always change stuff or add stuff as fast as we'd like. But we're new, so we're fairly nimble. We're not locked into our old ways.
Attaboy.
No,
that's great to hear, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Final thought from the Prince. What are you doing that's him telling you getting a Shudder subscription for the love of the game, but he also wanted to know what you're doing for a free comic book day. And are you putting anything out as far as Ignition for free comic book day?
No, we will not be, because so a little bit more about the Murder Podcast cold open.
Yeah.
We are very fortunate in the way that we built all of this. So when I say that we've been working on this for a year, we've been working on this for a year. So like right now, Mike is drawing, starting on issue 3 of Murder Podcast. He's drawing issue 0. He's drawing issue 1. He's drawing issue 2. He's starting on issue 3.
Okay.
All of our books, by the time that we're launching the series, are either close to done or done or so far underway that we're protected. We are dedicated to that.
Excellent.
So the Murder Podcast cold open Kickstarter runs through May 15th. We're very fortunate because we have a warehouse here in Joplin, and a great group of people that are dedicated to getting the fulfillment on these things done very quickly. So we are wanting and so the book is completely done. We're going to have everything ready to go and go out to you, so that, and I'm going to mess this up. This is where Philip would. This is like, Haun, what are you doing? But basically, in June, we're going to focus on fulfillment. We're going to get everything out to people. I think it's going to be in or not, it's not previews anymore. Solicitations. What do you call those now?
Yeah, really,
So,
with the fall
yeah,
assignment, absolutely. So yeah,
yeah. We're going to be soliciting in July, I believe,
okay,
for the series. So our goal is to have the cold open in your hands, to have read that thing, to know, to be able to see that thing and know what the series, like, you can be like, hey, I love this art, but the writing stinks. Please don't. It'd be nice. No, but you'll know in order to order accordingly. Shops, you can take issue 0 into the shop and be like, look at this thing. It's a smoke show. I'm so excited about it. I want to order, and show this to them. Like, they're, and like, we'll help. But like, we're gonna get it in people's hands. They'll know what this is. For Free Comic Book Day, we talked a lot, and we love Free Comic Book Day at Ignition. Philip's been massively involved in it, at
sure,
Boom for years and
sure,
years. Jamie and Maggie were involved with Free Comic
oh,
Book Day at IW and
yeah,
at DC before that.
yeah,
We love the idea of participating in growth. For us this year, because of where we are on
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
the timing wasn't quite right
yeah,
to participate this year.
sure,
What we're gonna do is be ready for us to have a really cool offering next year.
I'm with you.
That we're going to be well into the cycle of our books. We will have, I mean, I don't want to, like, I mean, we will be, I don't want to say the exact number because I'm going to mess it up again. But like, we'll be at least a dozen titles deep, by next year. It'll be more than that. It will
Okay,
definitely be more than that. But like, we will have a lot of books out. You will know who we are and what we are by that point, and then we're going to participate, and we're
excellent.
going to we're gonna blow the doors off.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
That's great to hear, man. No, I'm very excited for you and everybody over at Ignition, not only my friends, but the people who have yet to become friends. And it all starts with this 0 issue, Murder Podcast, The Cold Open, which is a Kickstarter campaign going on now. Just under 3 weeks to go as we're recording this. And I hope you will consider. And the great thing, as Jared's kind of pointed out, and this is what the great thing is when you've got something new, is give them that first taste. And as Jerry has been describing and everything, it's like, this is what we're about. Do you want to take the journey with us or not? And that's really important for a first issue. So I give you a lot of credit for having that in mind with this serial issue. But again, you guys are all pros, so you understand that. So very cool. That's great, man.
Yeah.
And I love I thank you for being my friend for these 19 years. And I look forward to more as we hit our dotage. But, and I know you will be back, likely with Mike, maybe when we're closer to issue 1.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about this is, I think there's been this through line through our friendship and taking part in the show, and this is about love of comics. This is about joy of making things, and this is about, like, when I talk about community, this is community.
Sure.
I'm honored to be at this point in my career and have friends that knowing you for 20 years, us
Yeah.
putting up with each other's shit for 20 years. The great meals, the great times, the laughs, this is this has been this has been an honor, and I know that we got a lot more ahead of us. But like, I'm
Yeah, man.
just grateful to be here, and and grateful for you, and grateful for everybody that's, this dropped in. I Kari, Prince, everybody. Like I just, um I love making funny books, and I love this community,
Attaboy.
and we just have to keep doing it.
I hear you, buddy, and I feel the same way. And especially as an outsider coming into the comics community, I always said this when I did sports radio. I don't work in sports; I cover sports. I don't work in comics; I cover comics. But it has been more of a friendlier. Not that it was ever combative in sports journalism or anything, but it is more of a, as I've always said, this is an entertainment show first and foremost. And it's been great and an honor for me to get to know people like you. So thank you, buddy, for our friendship. And I'm glad you're still making funny books, and I'm going to be with you on the journey as long as I can.
Thanks, buddy.
Right back at you. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Jeremy Haun, make sure you check out Murder Podcast, The Cold Open. Right now, a campaign on Kickstarter. Back it. I think you'll really appreciate it. Knowing what Jeremy has done in the horror genre, you're not going to be disappointed. And until next time, hopefully tomorrow, we were going to talk to Jeff Lemire in the afternoon, but Jeff had some family shit come up. So we're planning on tomorrow afternoon, and we'll talk about everything that's going on with Jeff, both not only what he's doing at DC, but also Boom and some creator-owned things that he's doing on his own as well. All that coming tomorrow on Word Balloon Live. Until then, everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.